Chapter 186 of My Hero Academia really gave us some pretty interesting insight on Hawks' character again, as well as some interaction between him and Endeavor and the interaction between Hawks and the population of his hometown, because first thing when this chapter kicks in, we get to see that Endeavor and Hawks are finally arriving at Hawks' hometown, much like we knew they were gonna do, because we knew they were gonna team up based on last chapter when Hawks suggested it in the first place. And sure enough, we see Hawks' popularity among the people of the village or the town, whatever it is. You know, he is definitely someone that the people look up to. He is definitely not someone that they try to distance themselves from, unlike Endeavor, because a lot of people, they don't really have the same love for Endeavor. Even though he's the #1 hero, he is the #1 hero, of course, as we know. However, he doesn't have the same love from the people as maybe Hawks or the way All Might did in the past. So we really get to see, you know, Endeavor try his best in order to gain the love of some people. You know, we saw some kids trying to interact with Endeavor, or rather they didn't, because they were too scared to walk up to him, and instead Endeavor walked up to the kids and he tried to do them a favor by actually being nice to them. But as it turns out, you know, the kids, they're not really used to Endeavor being this nice guy who serves the fans of whatever they want. He's not the type to walk up to you and sign you an autograph. Like, Endeavor is really baffled by the fact that they didn't like that, because based on what he thinks, his closed-in personality or the way he treats people normally, it's what people dislike about him. But as it turns out, that may not be the case for everybody. Like, some people may actually like that part of him, how he's like this badass who doesn't really give a fuck about people and just does his own thing. So we're seeing that obviously not all fans are going to value the same things in a hero. Like, I'm sure this is gonna be the same for Hawks and the same for Deku and everyone else in the future, you know, that some people may look up to them for a very specific reason, and then you're gonna have like a different bunch of people who are gonna like you for a completely different reason. Like, some may like you because you're a badass when you're fighting, some others may like the way you approach people, and some others may, you know, like something else. You just never know. It's this kind of thing that we really got to see in this chapter, how some people value different things in you as a hero. Like in Endeavor's case, some people like the badassness he has and the way he is kind of raw and just cold-hearted in a way. At least that's what it would seem like from the outside. And then some people like how Hawks is being this really warm person. He is, although he is very forward-going to some of the other heroes and whatnot, you know, he definitely has a kind heart. As we saw in this chapter, just by instinct alone, he was saving people, he was taking down villains, he was dealing with all kinds of problems, and he didn't really bat an eye. He didn't even have to look towards them. It just happens by instinct, essentially. Like, you can just see his feathers just flying all over the place, saving the dog, you know, taking down the shame hero, and whatever else may have happened in this chapter. Like, he helped an old lady with a bag up the stairs, you know. These kind of things are what people like about Hawks, but obviously the same kind of people are probably not going to like Endeavor, because he's a completely different type of hero. But then we have these kids who like the more, like, sort of edgy like heroes, the heroes who may seem like they're the toughest of the toughest, you know, kind of like Endeavor, because he doesn't really seem like the All Might kind of person. Like, if you saw Endeavor try to act like All Might, you would probably be creeped the fuck out. Let's be honest. Like, I think that's gonna happen. Now, another thing that I really want to talk about in this chapter is, of course, how Hawks is trying to push Endeavor forward, because a lot of people have been speculating that this arc is gonna be what builds up to Hawks' downfall, and I really wanna oppose that idea. I really don't think that's gonna happen, because based on this chapter, it really gives me a different feeling. It gives me a feeling that Endeavor is going to be the center of attention. Hawks is just the support character in this arc. Even though it is his hometown, he's probably gonna play a vital part still. It's still gonna center around how Endeavor is going to be loved by the people in a way that he hasn't been loved before by the same people. Even during the remedial course arc, which was before the culture festival, we saw how Endeavor started to question All Might on how to become the symbol of peace, implying that he already knows that he needs to make some changes in order to become something that people can latch on to. Because right now, we don't really have a symbol of peace. We don't have a symbol at all. We don't have any kind of symbol that people can feel safe around, because when All Might was around, he got to the very top in a way that no one before him ever had, turning him into this beacon of hope. the symbol of peace, but Endeavor doesn't have that, Hawks doesn't have that, no one of the current pro heroes have that, and Endeavor wants the people to be safe because at the end of the day he's still a pro hero. He wants to do good. He just doesn't know how to do it like All Might, and he wants to learn how to do that, which is why he asked All Might at that point, how do I become the symbol of peace, or something along those lines. And obviously Endeavor was told that he has to do it in his own way. It's not really gonna work if he just tries to copy whatever All Might was doing. Endeavor has to find his own way of winning over the people's hearts in a genuine way. Like, he has to be a very real hero. He has to do something that's gonna be very real, very significant, and something that's gonna make people just gravitate towards him and say, this guy is someone we can trust with our lives. This is someone that's gonna make sure that our streets are safe. That is what Endeavor needs to do, and Hawks in this chapter proves that he wants to help him reach that goal. Even though Hawks may or may not know that Endeavor has this in mind, he wants a leader. He wants a leader among the pro heroes. He doesn't want to be the leader himself, so the best way to find a leader is to make the one who is number one, Endeavor. It makes the most sense. Let the number one hero become the leader, and so he is willing to push Endeavor forward. He wants to verify whether this Nomu threat is real, and he wants to make sure that Endeavor is the one who is at the center of it all once it is resolved. And obviously at the end of the chapter we found out that there is actually a Nomu situation, even though Hawks didn't really know for certain whether this was the case or not. It was just based on rumors and nothing else. He even said that he had been flying around the country, you know, just to verify whether this was real or not, but he couldn't find anything, at least not anything concrete, other than maybe rumors from other people, you know, people saying they've seen it, but there was no concrete evidence towards whether this was a real threat or not. But in this chapter we can definitely say without a glimmer of doubt, the Nomu threat is a real thing. It is nothing that's just been rumored about. It's not something that's been fabricated just to get people on edge. It's actually a very real threat. And as it turns out, you know, Endeavor and Hawks is on the case, and we're gonna see some crazy stuff going into this arc, whatever this arc is gonna be about. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be just one Nomu. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, because this Nomu, even though it may be really powerful enough to deal with Endeavor, let's say, yes, hypothetically, I think Hawks is gonna get his own opponent. I think there's gonna be more than one guy to deal with, and I think there may be maybe 2 or 3 people even, because 2 villains for a whole arc, it just doesn't seem right with me, because then it's just gonna be a straight up fight, and I don't see that being the case. It's not really the style of Horikoshi. He hasn't really done that before. I don't see why he would, because even though it is a battle shonen, it's not really his style to just straight up make an arc centered around one fight. It doesn't sit right with me, because simply put, it doesn't follow his own pattern. Alright, so I want to talk about Hawks and the Nomu. I want to talk about the contrast between these two, because to me it feels like there's something that's gonna go down between the Nomu and Hawks, even though I believe Endeavor is going to be the major player still. I think the fact that the Nomu also has wings is something that's gonna be something significant. I don't think they would have introduced the pro hero number 2 having wings and then having this Nomu who also happens to be having wings. I don't think that's a coincidence. I believe there's going to be something significant in regards to these wings. I believe there's gonna be some kind of fight between both Endeavor and the Nomu and Hawks. And the Nomu, I believe there may be like a switch element, especially if there's more than one opponent. Like, we may start to see Endeavor fighting the Nomu, and then obviously at a later time we may see Hawks taking over while Endeavor maybe fights someone else or does something else, depending on exactly what's gonna go down this arc. I mean, it's kind of early to tell at this point, but I just feel like we're going to see some really crazy stuff going down in regards of a fight. Of course, I think there's gonna be a story to this arc as well. It's not just gonna be a fight for nothing, you know. These Nomus are different. It can talk, it can fly. People are even speculating that this Nomu has the muscle fibers of Muscular, which personally to me doesn't make any sense, although I can see where people are coming from just looking at it visually, and its personality or its drive to fight. Like, it was asking who's the stronger. That's a very Muscular thing to say. And then of course the fact that the muscle fibers are there, which is kind of like a really strong hint that this Nomu has Muscular's quirk. But Muscular is in prison. I just don't see how Muscular could possibly be part of this Nomu without anyone knowing about it, because he's not just gonna be removed from prison. I don't think anyone would allow that without complete surveillance. Even if this said doctor that's working with All For One is involved, you can be sure as hell security is also going to be involved. They're not just going to let him fiddle around with Muscular on his own. It's not gonna happen, guys. I'm sorry, but I don't see this being Muscular's quirk, although it could be a similar quirk that's really being implemented, because, you know, we might be seeing more people with similar quirks. Like, there's no saying that just this one guy has to have this quirk and no one else can have the same quirk or something that's extremely in line with it. I believe there will come a time when we're gonna see someone else with exactly the same quirk as someone we've already seen before. Maybe this is it. I don't know. As I said originally when this Nomu was introduced, it reminded me a bit of Kurogiri. Again, I don't think it's Kurogiri either, because exactly the same as I said with Muscular. He's imprisoned. There's absolutely no way they could have possibly fiddled with Kurogiri's DNA and made this Nomu. Especially since All For One is also imprisoned and All For One is the only one who can remove quirks. It just doesn't sit right. It just doesn't work. It makes no sense to me personally. I just get annoyed when I see these kind of theories or ideas that just pops up out of nowhere, especially because you don't have to dig very deep to see the flaws in it. There's so many flaws compared to how many upsides there's to it. So if this is in fact a Nomu with at least Muscular's quirk in it, we're gonna need a really good explanation as how that's possibly happening, because removing his quirk was never gonna be an option, because All For One was imprisoned not long after Muscular's capture. You know, there's gonna be absolutely no room for him to remove Muscular's quirk in order for anyone else to fiddle with it and put it in a Nomu. It just doesn't seem like something that would happen. The window is too small and there's so much in between that just prevents it from happening altogether. So I really hope it's someone else with a similar quirk that's been really fiddled with into this Nomu, and obviously it can talk, so it probably has a higher intelligence level than other Nomus we've seen in the past, as well as the fact that it has like these bat-like wings, which is obviously something we've never really seen, so that's obviously a quirk from someone that we've simply never seen before. I just thought I'd add that because it's something that's been on my mind ever since I saw this whole Muscular theory going around, as well as the whole thing with, you know, Hawks being a bad guy, which I did address in my other video, so I'm not gonna get into that, but yeah, I just thought I'd mention that before I end this review. So I would love to know what you guys think in the comments below about this chapter. Do you think Endeavor and Hawks are gonna be battling? Yes, this Nomu. Do you think there's gonna be someone else involved? I know there's been some talk about Dabi possibly being part of this arc. I personally wouldn't really have a problem with that as long as it's handled well. Like, I really wouldn't like the whole Dabi being a Todoroki being revealed in this arc. I think that's something we need to say for a later time, in my opinion. You may have a different opinion, of course. Anyway, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everybody, Toga is waifu, Toga is lifu.